let's create this beautiful sheet of marble. Cause the real one's so expensive. Hello everyone and welcome to MakeWithAjay. And in today's episode, I'm going to show you how I created this really beautiful looking white and grey and peach colored sheet of marble. Well, it's a faux marble, cause the real one is so expensive. Well, I was just going through Pinterest as I usually do in my spare time, and I came across this very beautiful and elegant looking wall art. And what that was just a sheet of marble framed and hung on the wall like a piece of art. And it looks so elegant and beautiful. And so I decided to make one. Well, in order to achieve that, I'm thinking of using the same materials that I use in my other textured paintings. And I'll try my best to give this a really plain and shiny texture just like a marble. And I'm hoping that the end result will look exactly like a beautiful piece of marble. Well, I can't wait to show you guys all the techniques that I have in mind, but before I do that, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel and press the bell notification icon so that you may get notified about more such future videos. I create videos every week and they're free. So without further ado, let's get started and create the sheet of marble. So as usual, I started off with a wooden board that has been taped from all four corners to have a sharp border. On this wooden board, I applied my favorite clear gesso, just so that whatever I may apply on this board later on may stick to this board perfectly. And then I quickly dried it with my handy hair dryer. After that, I applied white plaster using my favorite yellow spatula, and I applied it all over the board as thinly and as evenly as possible. It's important to take your time over here and apply the plaster as evenly and as smoothly as possible, because all the layers of this marble need to be even and smooth to have that perfect shine at the end. I applied almost 2 layers of plaster so that they may appear this white, bright and opaque after drying. After the plaster dried, I took a sanding block and sanded the entire board carefully. I want the surface to be as smooth as possible. And then I dusted the board with a lint-free duster. And then I took a little amount of plaster and diluted it with water and added some black color to it to produce this really nice looking grey color. And I used that color to draw these random lines and branches on the board, just like what you see on a piece of marble. I also gave some different gradients and shades of grey along with the lines so that the marble may appear natural. I was using a fine tip brush to create these random lines and was using a sponge to create these gradients. And then I took the same consistency of that plaster, but this time in a peachy brown color, because I wanted to give this marble a hint of that warm color. And I did the same thing of drawing these random lines along with some shading of gradients with the sponge all over the marble. Here you can be as random as possible and can create these lines in any direction. It's even okay if these lines overlap with each other, because in nature there's no exact way that these lines appear. You can make them in any which way you like. Once this layer dried, it was time for the second layer, and I used a diluted consistency of the white plaster and applied it in very thin amount and as even as possible using a sponge roller. I used the sponge roller to keep this layer as even as possible, and I was also using a metal spatula to remove that excess plaster. I wanted this layer to be as thin as possible so that the design that I have created underneath may not hide. After the white plaster dried, I came back with my grey and peach plaster and defined the design and all the branches and lines a little bit more and added some more depth to the gradients and shading. For this marble to appear as natural as possible, you need to work in layers. So you apply one layer of design and then let it dry, and then apply white plaster, then let it dry, and then redefine the design, then let it dry. So I applied white plaster after defining the design and I let it dry. And then I came back with my sanding block and sanded that plaster to make it as even as possible. And it's important to keep dusting the board after each round of sanding. Now this time, to define my lines and branches even more, I used my favorite Posca pen in silver color and with a fine tip. I used the Posca pen to make the branches as thin as possible and as defined as possible this time. And for the peach color, I used a copper metallic marker to create those metallic defined lines. The trick here is that the base layers of design need to be blurry to provide that base color. But as you move upward with the layer, the design needs to get more and more defined. And I also decided to use this cordless airbrush that I had with me to define the shading part a bit more. This airbrush will give more depth to the shading part and will look more natural. You don't necessarily have to have an airbrush for this part. You can also use a piece of sponge and your normal brushes to provide more depth. I just wanted to use this airbrush just because I had it. After that design dried, I decided to come back with a sanding block and rub it over all the lines that I had made, just so that these lines may appear a bit faint, a bit rusty, and as if they have appeared naturally and are not hand-drawn. And then for the next layer, I again covered the entire design with white plaster using a sponge roller. And I know it's quite repetitive, but it's important to sand all the layers and make them as even as possible after each application. And then I decided to add the final layer, which means the design needs to be as defined as possible. So I added some more depth to the shading using a brush and the diluted plaster. Now here you have the freedom to define the design as much as you like, or just keep it as it is as per your liking. After that layer dried, it was time to burnish this final layer, and in order to do that, I used this agate stone burnisher that I had. Now it's important to burnish the entire surface and make it shine as much as possible, so that the final result may shine even more. And look how shiny the entire sheet got after I was finished burnishing. It has actually started looking like a marble. And then I decided to add some more definition to the design by adding some more lines to the marble. And for that I used the Posca markers. As I said, it's up to you. How do you like the design? You can define it as much as you want or leave it as it is. There are no rules. I wanted more defined lines on my sheet, so I kept coming back with different colors of Posca markers and added more branches and more irregular lines on this marble. And then I decided to add some gold to my sheet of marble. And so I took this glue pen and this gold foil to add some golden lines. The process is pretty simple. You just draw the line with the glue pen wherever you want the gold and you let it dry till it becomes tacky. And once the glue has dried and has become tacky, you just press the gold foil on the glue. You burnish the gold foil with a hard piece of plastic. I used my agate burnisher for that, and you peel off the gold foil and it will leave that golden color behind. I know these golden lines are not a natural look, but I just thought that they will give this sheet of marble a really unique and beautiful look. As I said, it's up to you, whatever design you like. Later on I realized that the glue pen wasn't as tacky as I needed it to be, so I used this Mona Lisa gold leaf adhesive specifically designed for such gilding, and I applied that Mona Lisa glue wherever I wanted the gold to be using a brush, and I let it dry, and it was tacky enough for the gold foil to properly stick on the surface. As I said, this step is completely optional. You can also leave your sheet of marble as it is to have that natural finish. And after I was done applying the gold foil and I was happy with the final design, it was time to provide some more shine to the marble. And for that I used this clear wax with my wax brush, and I rubbed that wax all over the surface of the sheet of marble. You will notice that in the beginning, when you apply this wax, the shine will go away. Your burnishing will not appear as bright as it was appearing earlier. But give it some time, let it dry, and once you burnish it later on or buff it later on with a piece of cloth, this will start shining like anything. So as the last step, I took my buffing cloth and buffed this entire sheet like crazy. Wax will not only provide extra shine to the surface, but will also provide that protective layer and will make the surface waterproof. And finally, when everything was done, it was time to remove that tape to reveal that sharp border, and here's the final reveal. Wow, I'm happy with how this turned out. It's actually shining like a real sheet of marble. It not only looks natural, but also has that extra artistic element. And those golden lines, I totally love them. Just look at that shine. I love it so much. And I love the fact that this method gives you the freedom to make any kind of surface look like as if it's a sheet of marble. Imagine an entire wall looking like a sheet of marble. That would look so cool. Well, that was it for today, guys, and I'm so happy with how it turned out. This actually looks like a sheet of expensive marble. And the best part is, you can color this marble in whatever color you want. So, think out of the box. Make an orange marble. Well, I'm definitely gonna do that in future. I'm definitely gonna make all different kinds of marble. Because the technique is so simple. You just need to be careful of all the layers that you put in to show that natural depth in the designs and in the textures of a marble. And with the techniques that I showed you in this video, the possibilities are endless. You can make all different kinds of marbles. Well, I hope that you do, and if you do, please do let me know on my Instagram handle, MakeWithAjay. Do send me a picture of what you made. Please like this video, share it with your friends, and please do comment down below and let me know how did you like this video. And most importantly, please do subscribe to this channel and press the bell notification icon so that you may get notified about more such future videos. And with this, as I always say, we are gonna make this world beautiful, one thing at a time. Well, I'll see you guys in future. Thank you so very much for watching. Bye!